Starts in 30 minutes? What the fuck?
achieve.
We didn't miss
And
too much,
so
apparently.
We do want to go through, you know, a lot of the points of feedback that we've been hearing, and at the same time the patch itself. The biggest thing that, you know, to kind of like kick us off
could move my
here,
camera
I
here a
think,
little bit.
we want to, you know, obviously acknowledge everyone's feedback in regards to reducing player power. We know it is
I'm
bad.
lazy.
We
Sorry,
know
Joe. You got no
it's
head,
not
homie.
fun. And it's something that, you know, we ourselves know that it's not the greatest play experience for players out there.
I kind of want to see the chat, actually.
We do want to explain why we ended up doing it within the actual patch.
There we go.
And then, of course, we also want to talk about like
kind of curious
what
they're saying
specifically with this patch and with the changes that players ended up seeing.
What do you guys think?
Separately, we do want to also talk about how we don't plan on doing a patch like this ever again. We have most definitely heard the feedback from the players on that front, and we do want to talk a little bit about, you know, our philosophy, our own internal statements that we're setting for ourselves for future updates for the game itself. And then, of course, we do want to also talk about how we can talk better and communicate with the community better.
Thinking hurts. Thanks, Doodle.
In regards to
all right, let's skip a little bit.
Choice. And part of that is ensuring that the various class options feel that they've got a place in the meta experience. And that kind of goes to some of the changes
you
we
made
in,
the meta,
in
though.
1.1. Now, Adam already called out that we've heard the feedback with regard to the patch, and we know that reducing player power is never a good experience in general. And I want to talk through like sort of some of the things that brought us to where we are today in terms of decisions we were making and why. So, a few of the really big changes that were made.
Glad to be of service. Thanks, Doodle.
First, really, I guess to cooldown reduction.
That's funny.
We changed the amount of CDR that players can get as part of like in the affix ranges and items that are rolling for them as they're going through the experience. CDR is one of the, if not the most powerful stat in many ways in Diablo 4. And
like any other game in the history of like
when you're able to get
the world.
CDR to a certain point, when using certain class mechanisms, you're able to get effectively like instantaneous like active skills. So like, you know, that can give you like unlimited resource, it can give you unlimited movement speed, give you unlimited damage resist, and it begins to dwarf the effectiveness of other options when you can start trying to take these things into account.
So like vulnerability.
Now, we know that blasting through content with those things is really fun. So it feels really, really painful to have to take some of those things away. And we certainly don't relish the idea.
He's like, sorry, we you know, we enjoyed that toy, right? Sorry we gave you that toy. Now we got to take the toy back. Our bad. We had to bring it back to layaway. We couldn't afford it in the first place.
That was the original thinking for these sorts of bits.
Welcome to the chat room. Oh my god, my chat is broken again.
One of the reasons why we think that these builds are very prevalent at the moment is based upon like the nature of some of the endgame
Adam saved the game
in Diablo 4. In particular, thinking about Nightmare Dungeons, especially. The reality is that Nightmare Dungeons are dramatically overtuned from where they actually need to be, based upon the place they fill in the role they fill in the game itself. So, tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons are excruciatingly difficult for most players most classes to be able to actually get through. And as a result, it begins to kind of winnow
wait.
the opportunity.
I'm going to explain why. To welcome, thanks, Weasel. I wave at you back up, Weasel. Hello, hi. Damn it, I lost my train of thought because I saw a cute Pepe waving at me. What was I talking about? No, I had a thought. Wait, hold on.
And options that players have when they begin to engage with content at that tier, such that you really do require.
I remember. People specific classes cannot reach tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons because your stat resistances does not work, and you have a whole bunch of convoluted ways for damage reduction that everybody's just fucked up about it. So if you can't have resistances, you're gonna get melted in a dungeon that's like, hey, look at this point. Oh, I'm dead.
You need to lean on very, very specific builds, very specific setups.
Yeah,
So,
like not
we've
using
accessed
resistances.
things like near instantaneous cooldowns for some skills. in an effort to actually like make it through those spaces. And that was never really the intent of that content. And we see that, right? Players are using Nightmare Dungeons as ways to kind of like level up their glyphs, ways for them to gain experience and loot as they're progressing up. It's largely like a level up system you're progressing with once you get into World Tiers 3 and 4.
Bro, it's rifts.
But they've taken on an outsized role as sort of this new end game chase opportunity for players who are looking to really challenge themselves. And we
thought that was supposed to be the reason.
That kind of content and we want that experience for those
Bro,
players.
that was literally like the leaderboards. I don't understand. Like, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, who cares? Oh, cute. It's a sheep. But I know a lot of people are like, yeah, who cares about the leaderboards? But people realize that what people did in Diablo 3 was they would see who was the top leader in the leaderboards, see what build they're running, copy it or modify it to ways they can play it and be comfortable with it. So since nobody has the ways of going and finding out different builds other than looking it up on YouTube or Maxroll or any other external site except for Diablo, shit gets a little fucked up. I think it'd be easier to statistically to just have leaderboards to understand what builds are overperforming and underperforming.
We have done a reasonably good job of that with Uber Lilith in the game, but we don't feel that like tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons fulfill the same role at all. Just the nature of the content type doesn't actually work well as that kind of pushing opportunity. So one thing we actually plan on doing, and we'd hope to get out as part of this release, we're going to get out very, very soon, is we're making a reduction in the difficulty of some aspects of Nightmare Dungeons to kind of retune some things.
Kind of discourages people from experimenting. That's true because everybody wants to play the best thing, but it's also a good way for the developers to be like, it's literally just like WoW. You know, the ranking system, WoW Logs, World of Logs. They use that data to see what classes are being overplayed and which classes are overtuned, and using that raid statistics to base their development ideas on, like nerfs and buffs.
And the goal
so
here is
technically you do need the statistics behind it. You need the math, and to get that, obviously the best place to get that is raids.
That, you know, we think that that's roughly where you are with like a Nightmare Dungeon tier 70. That's kind of where we actually want the difficulty to be for a tier 100 as players are going through the experience.
Wait, are you serious? They want, so I did an 85, I think, or was it a, yeah, so I already completed like 100, this guy's saying. Welcome to the chat room. Welcome.
So there's
Assemble.
A thing to push for, but it's more reasonable. And as part of this exchange, we know that players really like kind of blasting and pushing hard for these sorts of things. They feel like big achievements. We are going to be looking at creating a new content type, a new endgame content type. It's going to be more directly.
So basically, like, we're sorry that you thought that Nightmare Dungeons were our endgame content. It wasn't our endgame content. We had no endgame content, so we're at this point we're thinking about making it now.
Meant to address those sorts of players and give people more things to chase. That's part of the commitment to the live services, to make sure that we're always adding
Uber
new
Lilith
things like this.
There was only like what 3 specs that could kill Uber Lilith because it was overtuned to shit. It's like using like it's so bro. Okay, hold on, let me breathe for a second. Worky and I tried to do Uber Lilith, right? And it got to that point where she would just disappear off screen and you couldn't see her anymore. So if you didn't have like an invulnerability skill, you're just dead. It's crazy. You can kill it with a lot of specs, just don't get one shot by mechanics. A lot is kind of like pushing it. You got like the poison rogue, the Sork Blizzard, barely a barbarian 1 build, 1 druid build, and 1 necromancer build. So you can kill Uber Lilith, but with 5 builds. That's smoj. She snipes you from off the map. Yes, okay, here, I'll show you. Paint. So here's Uber Lilith's platform, right? Actually, that's stupid. Let's do this. That's her platform, right? Uber Lilith, she fights you. It's like right here. This is her, right? She's fighting you, and then all of a sudden, she teleports off the screen. This is your vision. You can only see. Hold on. Just don't get hit. Everything's one shot. It's as long as you dodge everything, you're alive. Yeah, I know. I know the sarcasm on that one. I got you. So over here, so I'm just showing Doodle the view of Diablo 4. So this is the view, right? You have bear. Wait, no, that's too much. That's your view. Your view is this. That's your view right there. This, I feel like that's some sort of, just in case it's some sort of like weird thing. Anyways, this is Uber Lilith, right? She's a little like star thing. So you can only see the blue. So when she teleports off the screen, she teleports here. And she launches 3. Hold on, let's do it. Then she launches 3 specific attacks. They go there, there, there. Or she can spawn here, here, or here. All these are one-shot attacks, and you can't see them without probably having a wide... Wait, how do I do that? How do I make the arrow go... Where's my down arrow? Right? You can't see them unless you have like some super widescreen monitor. It's absolutely fucking atrocious. Look at that. Hey, look at that shit. And then that's not even the only thing. Then after that, the freaking the column stuff gets smaller, right? And then it gets smaller. It's just, I don't know. It blows my mind. Just get a widescreen monitor. It's just the way they. I hate that fight. It's so dumb.
It's your players to go and try to kind of chase after to kind of maximize and use.
Just having a fight that you can get one shot in, no matter like you need the immunity. It's like, what the fuck do you mean? It's like, it's either get an immunity or buy a fucking $1,200 ultra widescreen monitor so I can maybe see the bitch that's trying to one-shot me.
Builds in fun and interesting ways.
Anyways.
So that's another really big thing.
Give us zoom out, motherfucker. This
next,
isn't, like, why is it so close? Why am I so close to the screen? Why am I licking the sweat off my character? Why? Anyway, sorry. I love how like you typed that as I was like getting to the zoom in point. It's so bad.
Sorceress skill.
Dude, zoom, like, why is it so zoomed in? Why do I need a fucking ass crack shot of my character? Like, yeah, it zooms out for specific fights, like the world boss fight. If I had the character stuff zoomed out like a world boss fight, or just like a little bit more in, just a little bit, just a tiny bit more in, perfect. Absolutely perfect. I understand you want people to see your abilities, the worlds, you need it to be close so people can buy your cosmetics, because, you know, you won't buy cosmetics if you can't see your fucking character, if it looks like a little dot on your screen. But give me the option to make it look like a fucking dot. Yeah, like, I'm max zoomed out all the time on Diablo 4. I literally unkeybound the wheel on Diablo 4. It's always like max zoom out. I can't, because I always zoom in by accident.
Like sorceress builds in general, they sort of ended up having a net.
You
impact
deleted
of, like, really
sorceresses.
Their effectiveness with some of their most powerful builds.
They literally deleted sorceresses.
And the goal at the time was to try to bring their builds back in line with one another, so that we could start trying to bring everything up at once, as opposed to having these things as they are. And this, you know, this actually leads to a really good conversation about the idea of balance in general. I said before that Diablo 4 is a game that is about choice, and that remains our goal. You know, that's our.
Except for it's not about choice. It's about what we decide you can and cannot play.
That's our guiding light. We're trying to make decisions on balance and design in general. And sometimes we don't always get it quite right. You know, and I think that we see that with some builds that are just simply not performing to the level they need to be, because they
Minions
don't have the right interactions with the kind of.
Why do I gotta play the same builds that were working in season 1? I mean, season 0, then try season 1. I tried to play a rogue. I literally made a rogue for season 1. It's the most fucking. I hate rogues. They're not fun. I do not find them fun at all. I'm not gonna play that rogue. I'm gonna make something else. The issue is I did all the content with my stuff except for Uber Lilith because she's a stupid bitch.
Content or skills that you actually really want to use to get through the game. Um, this is an example.
Also, they talked about minion stuff. You know what they said? They said we have no idea what we're going to be doing about minion stuff. We want to try to make it viable, but we don't know how. How the fuck do you, as a developer, make something? A game about building specific builds. But each class only has one that works, kind of. Like, what? Yeah, I don't like Rogue. I'm making something else. Worky made a Druid. But I don't want to play the same thing as him. I did want to make a Druid, though. Barbarian also sucks this season, but they also said they're going to try to fix them. So I might make a Barbarian and just say, fuck it. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, I don't know how somebody, like, as a developer, could develop minions. And, like, the Witch Doctor's minions were really decent. Really decent in Diablo 3. It took a little bit to get there, but at least the build was there to use the minions. Anyways.
Example of, like, when we're thinking about our
Don't trust them.
goals,
Yeah, don't trust Blizzard in just, like, balancing or patching or anything that you want them to do. They're not going to do it.
In terms of creating this balanced experience where there's lots
Yeah,
of
I don't like
choices
Rogue.
for players to engage
I don't.
with.
I'm going to make another
we
character
cannot-
eventually.
We cannot make balanced
It's fucking
decisions
boring as shit, dude.
without kind of accounting for the way that players are going to feel about those things who are playing those classes. Like if the goal of if our goal is to create an ultimately balanced experience, without regard for.
You don't need to make a balanced experience. You don't. This is not a fucking MMO, RPG, World of Warcraft. This isn't no fucking simulation. Oh, this spec needs to do better than that spec bullshit. Just make it enjoyable to play. That's it. Nobody needs to be balanced. The whole game is supposed to be do as much damage as you can. Have fun, kill a bunch of mobs, log off, wait for the next fucking service. Main season. It's a live service, I know. It took all the fucking soul out of everything. I miss Diablo 2, god damn it. Why is it boring? Okay, this is the rogue's build, right? Dagger. It does the throwing daggers for like vulnerability. You shank them, then you run away. It's really fucking boring. 2 of your abilities are movement abilities. That's how boring it is. And I don't like the whole trap thing. I don't like it.
Or how much fun the player's having as part of that exchange.
Fucking live service games.
That would be like a failure on our part to not kind of think about things. So we have plans that I know that we're going to talk about a little bit later to kind of address this more clearly. But understand that we've heard this and we have plans in the very near future to address these sorts of things. Another bit that speaks to this is the change that was made for vulnerable damage. Now, I think that there are a lot of players in the community who,
which I don't disagree with, because you made vulnerability literally the main stat. Like they nerfed it, and it's still the strongest stat.
Like kind of dove deep into a lot of our systems in Diablo 4 and kind of see that vulnerable damage is a really outsized role that it plays in terms of a lot of build making.
Mm-hmm.
It
still does.
Where it feels that,
still
you'll
does.
Get to certain parts of content, and creatures sort of need to be vulnerable in order for you to feel that you need to that you can damage them.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that we're very aware of, and we made a reduction as part of the 1.1 build that reduced player damage in general because most players rely on many builds, I should say.
Because many builds relied on vulnerable damage because that was the only way to make them even sustainable to do any of the end game content.
Rely on vulnerable damage to deal to kind of spike in lots of different kinds of content.
No shit. The reactionary emergency live stream, they don't know what they're doing really. They just felt like they had to address backlash.
This is
that's literally Lost. That's what Lost Ark had to do. They had to go back for backlash. That's literally what they had to do. They had to try to explain themselves and cool down the fire which they themselves created.
something we also need to talk about. Vulnerable damage is far more potent
Yep,
right now.
they had a low
than
one, an
we
emergency
actually
meet, well,
want it to
twice.
be in
Actually, they
general
did
across the
another
game.
one.
I
Yeah,
think I've
3.
talked about this before. And
I watched
we
all
need
of
to
them.
make a number of we need to kind of bring these things back in line. But this is a more complicated conversation than simply just saying we can take a bonus damage to vulnerable
My question is, why the nerf of experience, though? That makes no fucking sense.
creatures number and reduce it by 40%.
Wait, they increased the experience because it was too long to get. I'm not hitting 100 this season. Fuck that shit, bro.
Kind of
Ain't no
amount of damage
way.
you can accrue across
Suck
the
my left nut.
and have that be the way that we solve this problem. Really, I think we all know that the ultimate problem with damage to vulnerable creatures, the fact is multiplicative stacking on top of the base vulnerable damage, which is already multiplicative.
No way.
Like,
I'm just gonna let this guy know that you have a fucking stat, right? In Corpse Explosion, you have a node, right? That specific node is multiplicative to vulnerable, stunned, and CC'd or slowed, if I remember right, right? You have that already. In like completely intertwined with the system of the skills. You know? That's why it's so strong, because you're the ones that caused it.
this is the
You need to take longer levels, stay in the game longer to spend money. Yeah,
this is the
basically.
reason why the stat plays such an outsized
They
role
want you
in a lot
they
of
want you to spend more time in the game and be so zoomed in to your character's ass crack that you need to spend money on skins to make yourself look cool.
player builds.
Basically.
We're going to need to move that to an additive place, but we can't do that without making a number of other adjustments to critical strike damage, to power damages,
No
calculated
way.
and dealt to creatures.
Wait.
The yellow
Before he even continues this bullshit, you have white damage, you have yellow damage, you have blue damage, you have red damage, which is overpower damage, which is it overpower damage? It's like some other barrier bullshit. You have 4 different damage. What happened to just why overpower? Why is that a thing? It doesn't even work for some.
ability of these things across various builds.
You have too many plus stats. You have too many additives. You have too many multiplicatives. You have too many.
There's lots of builds that rely on vulnerable, and they're balanced around the idea that the damage is also multiplicative. So a number of their balance and tuning changes have to be made in order to be able to bring vulnerable back in line with some of the other options we have out there. So this is how we're kind of thinking about these things moving forward. We want to start trying to be a little more inclusive of all of these decisions when we begin considering which of these balance adjustments we want to make, rather than being in this iterative place where we're making small adjustments to a number of different things along the way with an end goal in mind of where we actually eventually want to be. We want to be trying to consider what the experience is going to be like from moment to moment, rather from update to update and release to release, to get things in a better spot. So while we do believe that having our season,
he said so much, but he didn't say anything at all. We know these are bad. We know skills rely on this. This is why we got rid of negative 40% vulnerability and crit. Okay. You said nothing. We know that. This guy spent 20 minutes talking about fucking nothing.
Role gives us the opportunity to kind of reset our meta and change a lot of things that obviously has an impact on eternal play.
Wait, he just said the keyword. He wins the prize. He wins the prize. Our meta. You made it. No fucking shit.
Players, the way that they kind of perceive the characters they're still playing in that space. And
Jesus.
It can be disruptive for players who found a particular playstyle that they're really excited about. So so I know that, Joe, you're going to talk about some of these things in a minute, so this is an awkward handoff, but I just want to make it right. It's a very awkward handoff. Okay. I'm sorry. But I want people to understand that we do hear the things that they're saying. We do plan on making changes in the near future, and just kind of thinking philosophically.
Oh, by the way, their changes will take. They're trying to change it. They'll have another campfire. What did they say? 3 weeks?
About how we want to address these things moving forward. And with that, I guess, Joe, would you like to share about your thinking?
Yeah. So, I think it's a great point, a great lead in here. We want, as Adam mentioned, we want to talk about. We kind of talked a little bit about how we got here, We want to talk about what we're going to do about that. I mean, I think one of the really good points.
Oh my God, he's starting out talking about nothing. He's like, we know what he said, right? And I'm probably going to say the same thing he said, and we're going to eventually try to get to that point. They don't have an ETA on fixed resist. No, they said season 2. That's resist. Season 2 resist. So anything past October is when their resists are going to work. It's not like they introduced groundbreaking ideas in Diablo 4. How did they even run to all these in the first place? What they did is they tried to be something they were not. They tried to be Lost Ark, Path of Exile, and World of Warcraft. They tried to be all of these, and so they gave a bunch of different stats, a whole shitload of different crap that doesn't isn't additive properly to specific builds. There's glyphs for the Necromancer that doesn't even work in the Paragon board. They fucked up. They fucked up hard.
You made is like, you know, vulnerable is, for example.
Wait, here we go.
Vulnerable is.
Here we
like a
go.
Must take stat. Right?
He's gonna say exactly the same thing as Dude Bro over there. You ready, guys? You ready for another 20 minutes of talking about vulnerability and understanding that it's so good that it's needed?
Right. And it would be better if it wasn't a must take stat.
Oh,
But more of a build option.
The game will be better when that's the case. But if along
spoiler alert, season 1, 40% vulnerability negative. Still better.
the way to getting to that, the game is less fun, then we're not fulfilling our obligation to players, right? So I want to talk about
Bro, it's true,
our
Weasel,
mission
bro.
statement for the live game.
For example, I'm gonna give you a quick thing. The creator, if I remember this correctly, if my lore is right, the creator of Diablo 3, Diablo 3 didn't even become a game until Diablo Reaper of the Souls. And then that's when everybody gave up on the game. The game actually became fun, and like Reaper of Souls for Diablo 3, if that was the start of the main game, it would have been a freaking crazy success. Like that guy got fired, the creator on Diablo 3, if I remember right. And it took what, a year, 2 years or something, some ridiculous amount of time for it to even become a game.
And I think we have
It was bad.
Yeah, perfect.
And I don't know how they didn't learn.
So there
Wait, hold on.
are four parts.
A wide variety of viable builds to discover, put together, and optimize across all 5 classes. Oh, Lord have mercy. Here we go.
So we're going to start with the first part. We want the live game to always have a wide variety of viable builds to discover, to put together,
Wait, I need this.
to acquire the items for,
What is this guy thinking?
and to optimize across all 5 of our classes.
So basically, we made builds. We fucked up on some of the builds. They're not good. Are bad. Try these ones, though. We promise. Pinky promise. These ones are good. We pinky promise.
Second point. Every season should introduce new items and powers that keep the game fresh and increase build variety. Moving on to the third point.
Question. When you say new items and powers for every season, is it going to be like Path of Exile, where it goes and continues with us, and we bring the power from season 1 to season 2, or you going to completely chop the game back to its core, just like Diablo 3 did?
Point. The live game should also have continually evolving end game content.
You don't
And
have
that
any.
content needs to have high monster density for powerful builds to mow down,
No shit.
and it needs to have activities that challenge your build. And you know, you were just talking about how
Oh my God, why is that a point, dude? What are you going for, fucking president? Make the game fun again. Make the game fun again. Oh, please.
while Nightmare Dungeons, I'll get to the fourth point in a second.
I think that was the reason for the patch nerfs, the nerf to the base game, so people have to play seasons to feel powerful. That is literally it. They put all the power in the Malignant Hearts, so builds can then be viable again. That is literally what they did.
While Nightmare Dungeons
That is literally what they did.
are technically challenging your
Their
build,
audio sucks.
they're
How the
challenging
hell,
your build in
bro? How do your audio suck? Aren't you a small indie company?
some ways that are not very fun, right?
Yeah.
Like being CC'd all the time.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh,
Going through
And-
20 tiers of Nightmare Dungeons where every monster can one-shot you, and then if you get clipped by one bit of chill, you're permanently snared, right?
Oh.
Or not completely frozen. Like these are not things that the Nightmare Dungeon system is doing particularly well right now in terms of making challenging content.
Hello, guys. We made content. Their end game. We fucked up.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so important, your call out that we plan to introduce additional content that fulfills that that part of the mission statement to challenge.
So you're giving up on Nightmare Dungeons. Okay, got it. Nice.
If we can go back to the screen, I got kind of
They
sidetracked. but
they
I think it was
literally
really important.
they're like, oh, fuck Nightmare Dungeons, guys. We'll try to think of something else for you. We promise. We pinky promise you. Pinky again. This is the second pinky. Secondary pinky promise that we're going to probably give up on Nightmare Dungeons and give you something else. Except for making Nightmare
and
Dungeons
of
fun
course,
and viable.
ultimately, what we're trying to do is make the game more fun for players. Right? Players are at the heart of everything that we're doing.
Not doing a good
And
job.
if the game
at
is
it.
not more fun for players, and we're not making the game. If players can't believe that
Dude, Overwatch
as
2
the
all
game
over
evolves,
again, yeah.
it will get more fun.
I'm so glad I
then
stopped playing that game like fucking
We're,
6
we're
years
not
ago.
accomplishing our goals either, right? And so the other point I want to go to here is a change that Adam was talking about. How do we make sure that the next time we do a patch, we don't have this doesn't happen, right?
Yep.
And so I want to talk about we call it a key process improvement. That's like a weird jargon term. A change that we're making that will help us avoid this situation. So I think we have a slide for this. When we make, and this goes again, this is
Just a by the way, guys, just a BT dubs. We're 10 plus minutes into him talking, and he said absolutely nothing.
right along what you were saying here. When we make changes to increase build diversity, our goal, going back to the
You've said
mission
you
statement, is we
said
wanna have
nothing
a
so
wide
far.
variety of
It's absolutely
viable builds,
ridiculous.
right? So when we make changes that have the ultimate aim of increasing build diversity,
When
we need
making
to-
hold on, when making changes to increase build diversity, lets some builds be overpowered until we have provided compelling alternatives. No way, no fucking shit. Microsoft, bro, you have your hand. You're like, I feel bad for that company.
pair those changes with compelling alternatives. And that means that there are some builds that'll be overpowered. And we
Welcome
can't
to
nerf
an
those
ARPG.
those overpowered builds
I mean,
without providing
yeah,
compelling alternatives
ARPG.
for players to pursue.
That's right. It means that things like when we identify that there are a few individual like meta builds or stats that are like really,
I wonder
really
when that's gonna.
powerful within
You know what's
the-
funny?
within-
When Microsoft buys Blizzard, and they're just gonna be called Microsoft Activision Blizzard, because Blizzard used to be called Blizzard North. That's when the company was the company. That's why we don't expect anything from like Blizzard nowadays, because they're no longer Blizzard North for like years and years and years. So they're gonna be like MAB. Mothers against Blizzard.
Preseason or within a season. That until
Mothers
we
against
have
Blizzard,
created
guys.
those other options and redesigned things around the nature of these and made sure that we've lifted up other options and brought everything in line, we're not going to move on those changes. There's going to be always situations where there are extraordinary outliers, that we're going to want. They're usually relying on like actual bugs that we need to address. But when it comes to like trying to bring things back in line with one another, we want to be able to make sure that we're doing those when we make those decisions. We have a bevy of other options and alternatives available for players to engage with at the same
Okay,
time.
you
So
still
if
said nothing.
Players who just taking
The start of a season is an
These
especially
meta
good
changes will
time
occur at predictable
for
times,
meta
like the
changes
start of
to
a
happen
season.
because there's a big refresh. Everyone is rolling new characters, and there's new seasonal content, right?
In
cases
situation where
like
the bugs
that
coming, game
where,
breaking, damage, crashes will still react
damage
quickly.
is
Okay, anything else?
us inviting players to break the game to some extent, not to crash. There are lots of ways to interpret the word break.
What? They're gonna invite beta testers? Man, we haven't had beta testers in like fucking 18
But,
years.
And find fun toys that we've made, do crazy things with them, And we need to make sure that we aren't trying to punish players for doing that. Like, because ultimately that's the playground we built. That's
Bro,
like
give
we
people a
built the game that's
PTR.
like, go find crazy stuff, and we need to make sure that
Just
when
give everybody a
players,
PTR. That's
take
it.
that invitation,
Yeah.
that we're not punishing them for that.
That's right.
So basically, we've said nothing. Some builds will be stronger than others. We'll try our best to make other builds stronger. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and I know when we were talking about at least the Nightmare Dungeon stuff beforehand, and we can go into it in a little bit more detail once we get to the stuff that might be coming down the pipe here. The one thing I think that I wanted to really highlight on was, obviously we did this patch and we made these changes and we brought character power down, like player power down essentially. That in itself was also supposed to be paired with these Nightmare Dungeon changes that where Joe was actually talking about earlier. And
So, hey guys, we made the game worse for you before we had the solution for why we made it worse for you.
it's something that we've learned throughout this process is, as you guys were talking about, that we have ultimate visions for something that is further down the line. And
then why do you implement the changes for the down the line idea to your first season? What?
Doing that all together at once during those moments, as opposed to doing them over time and whatnot, just leads to a better experience overall for players. And that's something that we most definitely will be doing as we build out future updates and patches and so forth. Of course, a key component to this is how we communicate to players, and there is been a lot of feedback in regards to.
Bro, your fucking audio sucks. Guy, do you hear the fucking echo they got in that room? Could we get a desk? Could we get a bookshelf behind you guys? Have you ever watched the episode of The Magic School Bus with Miss Frizzle? And she taught you how sounds work and how they bounce off things?
Like, hey, it would have been great if we knew some of these changes were coming down the pipe, and it's a hefty amount of patch notes. We could have digested this over a few days beforehand or a week beforehand. So one thing we do want to commit to right now is that we do plan on going forward always providing patch notes and communicating these patch notes through streams like this, through campfire chats or developer update live streams beforehand, well beforehand, at least a week before the actual update hits.
I like how they're blaming a communication problem instead. If they told us they're going to cut an arm off beforehand, people would be okay with it. What? You just need one kidney? That's it?
In no matter state, because I know
That's
sometimes
crazy.
we're still trying to maybe potentially squeeze in a few different things into.
Sorry guys, we forgot to tell you we're gonna chop off one of your nuts, sell it to grandma over there for her medication. Our bad guys, our bad.
Patch notes and stuff like that up until the last second, just on the nature of production of how we are. But I will say we do plan on sharing those no matter what to the community going forward, and from here on out through a stream or written through blog or something like that beforehand, well beforehand, before players can actually get into game and actually try it out on their end.
Oh my god, it's like if Diablo 4 had a fucking thing called a PTR, everything would be roses and rainbows, because you would give even a private PTR, something that you can actually play the things that you thought were going to work in your mind, but they didn't end up working at all. Like, there's a fucking power that gives bone wall shoot out spears, and the spears that shoot out from the bone wall or bone gate or whatever the fucking bone shit is, I'm getting upset, does 191 damage. What?
And so at least we can hear feedback and you guys can actually digest the information beforehand. In fact,
I thought that was a good idea.
We do actually have, of course, future updates here that we do want to talk about here really quickly. But one thing that we will commit to right now is that next Friday, so exactly 1 week from now, we'll be back on a live stream, because we will start with that. That live stream where we will be talking about our next patch that will be coming to Diablo 4. We'll talk a little bit about some of the details here, but we'll go into more detail next Friday specifically.
Okay, Chad, next
But
Friday we
will
got
be
another
back on here
campfire.
to kind of go through the whole entire patch notes with everyone beforehand, so everyone has a better expectation of what they're going to be seeing in the actual update, and they can talk
Okay, we let's get some meat, guys.
to
Give us
us
some meat
through
here.
chat to talk about, because there are some items that we are aware of that we know will be of interest to players, specifically when it comes to things that they've been asking for, and at least it gives you guys a little bit of an early preview of some stuff that's coming down the road. I think one big thing that everyone has been kind of talking about as of late from this current patch is like some of the sorcerer and barbarian items and stuff like that, and how we've obviously tuned a lot of classes down, and there's questions of like, hey, is there any changes in the future for those two?
Yeah, we're taking a long look at a lot of the sorceress and barbarian aspects that aren't being like utilized very well right now, and trying to lift a lot of those back up. So there's going to be a wide range of like legendary power and unique item improvements for these two classes in particular. We're taking a look at a lot of things, but
it took them 30 minutes to say that we're looking into barbarian and sorceress. Just gonna throw that out there.
Really honing in specifically on sorceress first, and then also getting a lot of barbarian updates in there at the same time. And this is for 1.1.1.
Correct.
So the very next patch and cycle.
Yeah, and we expect that patch. Obviously, if we're having a live stream now, next Friday, we expect that patch here in the next like couple weeks or so. So at least you guys can get an early preview on it.
Yeah, and on that Friday, we'll be talking a lot about like the specifics of all of those changes and kind of hearing what the community says.
Yep.
It feels like
in fact the Nightmare Dungeon items that we were just talking about just now, that's actually we're planning on actually rolling that out in a hotfix specifically, and that is something that we actually plan on rolling out later today. So we'll have more information on.
Is it? Let's find out. Where are you guys? I lost you guys. Diablo hotfix. Nope, no hotfix yet. Okay.
The Nightmare Dungeon changes that will be that we talked about earlier, that will be coming out later today via hotfix. Another big thing that we've talked about in patch notes, because we've toned it down, and now we're kind of and we had mentioned that to players that we did plan on bringing it back up. It is monster density in Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. So I know that you guys had some plans and so forth.
I'm going to be honest with you. How the hell is monster density an issue in a hack-a-slash game? How? Could you tell me from the bottom of your soul how they had this issue in Diablo 3 Rifts, where there was levels with like fucking 14 mobs on them? It took them 3 years to fix that. How is this an issue?
Related to that.
Yeah, so, I mean, going back to the mission statement I mentioned earlier, a key part of the live game is having high-density areas for players to mow down, right?
Key part of ARPGs, right?
Key part, of which Diablo 4 is one.
That's true.
Pardon my grammar.
Yeah, sure,
and so,
small indie company.
We're going to be increasing the density in Nightmare Dungeons substantially. And we're going to be increasing the density in Helltide as well. Now, with the Nightmare Dungeon changes across the board for Nightmare Dungeons, all Nightmare Dungeons will get more dense. The Helltide change, there are certain areas of Helltide that are extremely dense, right? Like the tar pits, for example, is very dense. Areas like that probably won't get more dense. And part of what we've been doing here.
Okay, we got it. Density. All right, we got it.
Time on the servers, getting those into better performance, so players have better frame rates and stuff, and
dude,
fewer stalls and all these kinds of things that make
Diablo
the game
scares me.
more fun to play.
It's so choppy, dude. Maybe it's just me.
Helps us increase.
I do have a
the
ghetto
number of,
computer.
More monsters, more players, more stuff going on.
I take that back. I don't have a ghetto computer. It's just old.
And we know that the density in
The
Nightmare
computer's
Dungeons
just
in
old.
particular needs to go
4
up,
years old.
and,
Its birthday
so
is
we've been
soon.
working on that to make sure that
Yeah.
that we can accomplish that. So density in Helltide will go up, not uniformly.
This is getting too
Density
cringe.
in
Just
Nightmare
gonna
Dungeons will
hope
go
for
up,
Exile Con next
uniformly,
week. What's
and
up,
these will be
Zipper?
substantial increases.
Yep. Which I know.
I'm telling you, they talked this whole thing. They said they're going to fix Barbarian, fix Sorceress in like a couple weeks. Didn't say how they're fixing it. Maybe increase aspects, and they said nothing for 40 minutes, and they're going to increase density.
Have been talking about.
That's about it.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Wanting additional density on this.
Right,
specific.
rightly so.
Yeah.
And a big topic right now is inventory concerns. We've heard from players.
Oh,
I know we
finally,
talked about,
something that's useful.
Gems and so forth actually becoming materials in season 2, which to help out with some.
Why is season 2? Why? Why season 2 though? I don't understand. Why season 2? Why do we need to wait another 3 to 4 months to have a fucking gem tab? 4 months.
Inventory concerns specifically. I know you guys have information at least in regards to stash and what might be coming in 1.1.1.
Yes. So certainly the gem change is still coming in.
Dude, the malignant hearts and gems and whatever the fuck they want to call it is so stupid. I can't believe they thought that was a good idea to have it take up inventory space. I knew they were going to do it in season 2, but it's still ridiculous that they can't even have a fucking system for their hearts. Like, why do I got to carry around 13 fucking hearts? Why?
Season 2, like you said. But we need more stash help now, right? And so in 1.1.1, we're going to be
In
adding
3
an
weeks.
additional stash tab for players so they can store more aspects,
Wait,
more malignant hearts.
did he say an additional stash tab? 1? Singular?
Yeah,
so-
this has been like an ongoing conversation.
Just
every
what?
week inside the dev team of like, do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Like the density
Yep.
conversation, the
Yeah.
stash tab conversation. Like,
What do you mean, are we
the
ready to do that
engineering
yet?
team working really
No, you guys were fine with nerfing everything, right? You were fine with that. You're having only 6 viable builds in a whole game, which each class has maybe 2 viable builds, maybe.
really hard, be able to like make these adjustments possible for us. Like there's more that we're doing. This is now a never-ending conversation of like what else can we do and what else can we be doing to try to improve the experience. But like we've definitely heard these 2 concerns, and we're just really happy to be able to bring them in as early as 1.1.1.
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention that along with the stash tab, we're making a small change to elixir stack size. We're going to bring that up to 99. So that'll help a little bit.
Awesome. Obviously, like with new starts to seasons, and if we do have these types of changes that occur within the patch that may change, whether it's the meta or the
Elixirs
balance
are
of
in another tab
specific
anyway, right?
things.
Yeah, they're in the
There's some
same tab
questions
as
related
Nightmare
to,
Sigils.
Respecs and how that has been
I don't know why
pretty,
they're.
pretty expensive on
I don't know why they put Nightmare Sigils and fucking the Elixirs in the same tab. What kind of stupid shit is that?
on people's like their own personal economies with gold and so forth. I know we have respec changes that are also coming with the game itself. You guys probably know more specifics on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, this really goes back. Joe was talking about.
I don't care about
our
respecs.
commitment to choice earlier, and
I don't care.
But I think it also goes back to when we say in the mission statement we want to have a wide variety of viable builds.
You're saying nothing
They
again.
get the option of actually being able to do so, or have an easier option of being able to do so.
You're saying nothing again.
We've been looking at the player journey and how they've been getting up to 100. I know there's some changes that you guys are looking at in terms of like experience and so forth from that end.
Yeah, I mean the short version is we want to make leveling from 50 to 100 faster by adjusting XP.
But how do you do that if the first thing you do to adjust XP is you nerf XP? What? Am I crazy?
I don't know if you have
Yeah,
more
I
Furbo's
realized when
thoughts on that.
I was realizing when I was talking earlier about the changes we made. Obviously, we also made the change to XP gain when fighting creatures above your level, and I failed to mention this discussing it.
Yeah.
So the original intent for that was we found players basically sitting at like fighting creatures like 3 levels above them and never felt like they were really challenging themselves beyond that. We wanted to stretch that out a bit further, but that went from a 25% bonus to a 15% bonus.
Yeah, I know,
And we
DZ.
knew that density changes were coming.
A lot of people can see this stream and be like, wow, they said so much. How crazy is that? Look at all this wonderful things that came out of their mind. And I can pinpoint 6 different things they said in the last 40 minutes. I guess it's these types of things are just good for the ignorant, you know?
Coming online, so we
Ignorance
thought about this a little bit, but
They're talking to their fucking
I read a lot
sheep
of
right now.
feedback, like
Listen to us,
afterwards in particular,
sheep.
that
We're trying to herd
based
you
on
in this
people thought that
direction.
we were just trying to make the game take longer, which wasn't actually the goal, but realized that the 25% to 15% change did constitute a nerf. As a result, that is the thing that we're thinking about as well.
No. Nerfing experience makes leveling longer, which makes taking 50 to 100 take longer than expected? No, you're crazy. No way.
We are not trying to slow down the game.
No, and to that point, like we had a vision for how long we want the game to take for players. We realized that it's taking a little bit longer than that than what our vision was originally for a lot of folks that are leveling up. Particularly when
That
they get to
guy,
certain
yeah,
parts
quick
of the
math.
game, like when they're
Nerfing experience makes the game
So
longer.
we are looking to
Oopsies.
like really to readjust the XP rates for those areas. Because we aren't looking to like, have you hit this absolute brick wall.
God, it's
when
so
you hit, like,
God,
level
they're so
70 or
fucking
something,
stupid,
right? Like,
bros.
there's not like these moments where you're going to feel like you just can't, or 75. Like we don't want you to have this feeling that you just can't make meaningful progress. That we're just.
I'm gonna be honest with you. As soon as you hit 50, and the only thing you got to look forward to is a Paragon board or 60 or whatever, and all you got to look forward to is a Paragon board that's empty and it has no life in it. No soul, it does nothing. Hey, you want +5 agility? Here's +5 agility. How about you stick it up your...
Artificially holding you back. That's never been the vision or the goal, right? It ended up working out that it wasn't, the players weren't earning XP at the rate that we had originally expected is what it really came down to.
So players weren't playing enough to gain experience in a casual...
These are, like, we are making changes in this regard.
Yeah,
I don't care.
We don't have, like, group up, have fun with your friends. Like,
If you say fun, if I started this stream with a bottle of vodka and I heard this man say, we need to make the game fun again, I would be fucked up.
power leveling each other. The only case that we
You nerfed
think
that.
is not very fun is the case where one person is standing at the entrance to the dungeon and other.
That's the point. That's the point. I'm sorry. You're supposed to have the dude AFK there like Diablo 3, you stupid fuck. So they can just AFK, make a sandwich, maybe take care of their fucking kid or something they gotta do outside of game so they can just get a free experience and play on their own time without having to worry about the 70 fucking hours that it'll take to level there in the first place. Ugh.
Other person is having all the fun killing monsters.
Stupid. Ugh.
And so, you know, when we look at the balance of the XP changes in 1.1.0, we think that additional changes need to be made to make the game faster, especially.
Oh, you mean reverting the changes that you changed already? Wow, that's so genius.
Yeah,
between 50 and 100.
Yeah, we want
Exactly
level
what you
1 to
said.
100 to feel like an achievement, but not like a job.
Yeah.
Right. So like we want to make some adjustments to make sure that
That's too late.
Including the barb and like sorcerer changes.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Joe had
Back to this.
mentioned, along with other changes that we aren't.
He didn't mention changes. He mentioned the idea of changes. Like, I know they said the next campfire is going to be, hey, we're going to do it now. Just tell it how it is. Say, sorry, we made this campfire to tell you guys about the next campfire that's going to be coming with the changes. How about you carrot stick somebody else?
We are
Come
preparing
play our
right
game.
now for the patch itself.
Come play our
That
game.
patch itself
Come
is
play it,
coming,
guys. Come
should
play
be
it.
in the next couple
I promise
weeks.
it's going to be good.
Obviously,
Come play
if
the
we're doing
game.
stream on
Come play the
Friday,
game.
Means it's coming pretty darn soon for after that stream. So, but we did want to make sure that we got in front of players to actually talk to them about everything, and we plan on doing that going forward if we ever have one of these larger patches that actually makes them
Don't
clear so
care.
that you guys get a better idea.
Don't care.
I know that ideally we're
There it is.
aiming for season 3 for the leaderboards in itself.
So they're going to add leaderboards. Wow. It's like we just thought of that like a million, like what?
I don't know if you guys have any like additional information or like additional insight onto those from
Season 3. All right, guys, we'll see it. We'll see.
So one thing that's really
We'll see it in 8 months. We'll see it in 8 months. Okay, we'll see it 8 months. We're going to see leaderboards. How the fuck do you have a game that was $150, $100 to $150 Canadian, but you guys are playing this like fucking Diablo 3? Why does it take a year for your game to be a game? And people wonder why nobody has faith in any type of Blizzard IP anymore.
important to us for leaderboards in Diablo 4 is
Well, they said season 3, and every season's 3 months, and the end of the season's October. So it's safe to say season 3 is in November or January, January of next year.
we don't think that like tying this directly to Nightmare Dungeons or content type exactly like that is going to make a lot of sense because the variety of the nature of the system. So we want to make a content type that kind of partners directly with.
By the way, Ding Dong guys, ads begin about 4 minutes. I've been snoozing them for the last 15 minutes, so you guys are gonna be getting ads.
Leaderboards so that you can be judged in kind of like this kind of more even playing field when you're going through that experience. But that is
So if you don't want ads, you know what to do. But if you want ads and you're a masochist, well, enjoy your oh my god, look at this amazing product. Ding Dong.
that is content that we are actively in development on and are excited
Thanks,
to try
Weasel.
to get ready for season 3. So we're gonna be making I'm sorry. The short answer to this is so we excited about competitive feature. We are making a specific content type that goes alongside that.
Yeah, they're gonna make a completely separate thing for leaderboards. So they gave up on Nightmare Dungeons. It's over. Nightmare Dungeons will just be used to level your character, and that's it. They gave up. It's over already. Nightmare Dungeons is already
we're
dead.
looking for season 3 for that.
question from
Nightmare Dungeons is already dead, dude.
You Stupid Walrus. Is Uber Uniques, what's the future? They mathematically don't exist, so I don't think it's a good waste of resources of them anymore.
Sorry, I was really distracted by the walrus.
Okay.
Can you read the question again?
Did that guy just look off into the distance like some sort of moth that has a light connected? He's like,
Uber Uniques.
Oh, right.
What's the future? They mathematically don't exist. So I don't think it's good to waste resources on them in the future.
true.
Yeah, it's a good
The
question.
Ultra
So,
Uber chase item. Question. Hey, you know those really good items that we'll never get, and even when the game was bugged and only 146 other people got it? Yeah, you'll never see that. It's like winning the lottery, chat.
Uber Uniques are designed such a way that they are a huge spike of power, and we're receiving feedback, and we understand the feedback on some
Huge spike of power that you'll never fucking see.
of them. But they represent a huge spike of power, and as such, are not expected to be part of builds necessarily. One of our goals underlying is we don't want players to
But your problem in the first place was making builds that don't work, right? That was your problem in the first place, right, guys? We made builds that don't work. We made builds that kind of work. Hey, maybe we shouldn't give these really powerful items so the shitty builds that we thought would work don't work. Maybe they'll work with these really good items. Nah, let's make it a 1 in 56,000 million chance to drop.
feel that one of these are mandatory that you must find in an effort to bring your build online. From the ground up, we kind of made the decision to say it is okay if we want players to find these, but we don't want them to expect to find these. Which is a
Why? Why can't I expect to find an item in a game that I paid for? Why can't I expect that? Is it just nerf the fucking things and make them regular fucking uniques then? Don't expect to find them. Don't look for them, guys. You're not gonna find them.
a difficult place to balance in terms of drop rates when you're thinking about these. Now, right now, I believe that they are exceedingly rare, and we do want them to feel very, very rare. But I suspect that as we start moving into
if nobody uses them, there's no point to the fucking things. What if somebody needs to use a specific unique helmet and they have a Shaco drop, right? Or some fucking specific item, right? How why do you think, right? Why do you think they're not going to use it? Because they're already using that specific unique helmet to make their build work, because the builds that they could have used the Sheikah with aren't online because you only have one build for each fucking class.
Future seasons, we do want to find more ways for player.
I know you bought a car and we want you to have 4 tires, but don't expect us to give you 4 tires.
I imagine we will talk about that soon. But I would suggest that like the current drop rates are probably not going to be the drop rates forever. We'll probably make those a little bit more common, a little more likely to be found as time goes on.
What's little?
A big topic that I'm seeing just pop up in chat and so forth. A lot of comments about crowd control. If there's any plans or ways that we're looking at addressing crowd control here in the future.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, well, I think
who asked about CC?
We think that
other than being CC'd forever, they did talk about that before.
When you have high density of monsters on screen and you have a lot of elites, the crowd control, the tools that you have for that is going to be tool adjustments in terms of your tools.
Okay, they're saying nothing
I think
again.
That we'll be able to.
Ads are starting, chap. Ding dong. We're going to end here soon, so I do apologize for those who are getting the ads now.
In terms of specifics and how we're going to address that, but
so he's saying nothing again.
When will loadouts be added?
Yeah, it's a feature that the UI team is very excited about, and something we've talked about a bit internally. We don't have a timeline.
You know what's kind of crazy? You know how you just said loadouts? If you can have different loadouts for like this Paragon board and another loadout for another Paragon board that I literally suggested in my original video, I'm pretty sure, just so people can play other specs without taking 36 years and 1,000 million gold to respect their current build.
For the idea of loadouts. Just yet, but it is something that we're continuing to actively talk about.
Coming next year, 2024.
We have more information to share in terms of like when something like this could potentially be added to Diablo 4. I'm sure that we'll talk about it.
Barag0 says, what is the time frame on 111? It doesn't seem very clear. Is it before the middle of the season? How long do I need to wait for Sorcerer and Barbs to have their changes and be playable?
And be playable. Oh my god, that is so fucking... I'm actually going to make a Barb. Just for this reason, the Barb sucks so much dick. I'm going to make a Barb just so when it's changed, I'm going to be powerful.
In mid-season. As I said, it's only like a couple weeks away, and by a couple weeks, I mean like very, very soon. We're doing a stream on Friday.
I should be a Barb now.
A couple days after the stream.
We have to provide some... If we say anything too specific today, production will choke us out. So
like last time when you held 60 pages and say, look at all these wonderful nerfs and buffs we're going to have.
We have to be very careful about the language we use, but yes, very soon.
Only because with patches themselves, of course, there are we're on a lot of different platforms and everything, and of course those go through certification. If a certification gets pushed back or whatnot.
Yes, I don't care.
Experience between, say, level 75 to 100. This is actually something that we just commented on, but the journey feels a bit dull. There are several.
We're done. We're actually done. We watched the rest of this on. We already watched the rest of this on stream, so we watched the first 20 minutes. All right. So basically, what I got from that was they said a bunch of nothing. They're going to eventually have something for us in 3 weeks, and they said the builds. So basically, they said nothing. They said specific builds needed specific things to be viable, which it still does. They said they have builds that don't work, which they don't. So yeah,